Bookie Beatdown coming at you. Paul, Cody, International Fight Week. Are they? I guess it's still International Fight Week, but it's not 4th of July weekend this year, which there must be some sort of business reason for that. UFC is going to be off next week. We've got an absolute banger of a card. We're breaking down crazy stuff all the time. Fury. I was breaking down Fury on Sunday. The boys in the court hit a nice little mini PRP. Nice little mini PRP. So vibes are high. But it's really nice when you get like a top quality card like this. Makes it a little trickier, I think, in terms of like finding value, navigating, because all of these guys, for the most part, are pretty damn good. But yeah, Cody, any thoughts before we get into the action?
Yeah, I mean, it's not 4th of July weekend, but it feels like fight week down here because it's Canada Day long weekend, and it is scorching hot, Paul Shaughnessy. But yeah, listen, this card, it looks like it's underdog city. And so that's where it gets a little bit tricky. I can make a good case for 95% of the underdogs on this card to come through. So which ones are actually, you can hear Gabby in the background letting us know that it's dog city. Gabby knows it's dog city. Cody's got to recognize it's dog city. But of course, you can't just spam all of them. So that's why we're talking about it today. Figure it out.
There may be somebody at the door. That's all the way upstairs, to be perfectly honest. She may come down here too because it's hot. And she was actually behaving right until we hit record. Classic. But yeah, pitter patter, let's get out of our main event. We got Charles Do Bronx Oliveira taking on the featherweight champion, coming for that lightweight strap. Obviously, Makhachev. You've been living under a rock. Makhachev is going up to 170 and so on and so forth. I mean, what a main event! What a great situation. And Topuria 16-0. Guys, just outside of getting knocked down by Jai Herbert, it's been pretty much a masterpiece the entire way. The guy's super elite. Cody, where are you at with the main event of UFC 317?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I was doing good with main events, of course, with Dvalishvili, and then Kamaru Usman coming in through as a big underdog. And then last week, my boy Paul Shaughnessy tried to talk some sense into me with Khalil Roundtree. I just wouldn't have it, Paul. And unfortunately, I made the mistake of making a shoey bet with you. So I'm going to go ahead and crack that one, get it out of the way. It's also scorching hot in Ontario, Canada right now. So this will help at least cool me down. And then we can talk about...
What are you sipping on there, bro? What do you got? What's going in the boot?
It's a little Perte Brewing, a little pale, little 350, 355 down the old hatcher. And then, yeah, listen, nobody wants to drink a beer out of a boot. I mean, it's the bottom line. But I thought Hill was going to do a lot more for me, and it just never quite got there, Paul Shaughnessy. So you were right. I was wrong. And where I will say, guy didn't get knocked out, like you said. You were very clear. You were very clear that Jamal Hill's old man knees weren't going to be able to take the punishment. And that was honestly the story of the fight. So before I leak all this beer all over the place, all right, I'm going to hammer this thing down. Go ahead and talk.
It's a good looking boot. Oh, that's a clean boot compared to like the others. Like is that brand new? We may have to call in a party foul on this. You guys gave me all that slack for... Like, have you ever even worn that shoe before? I'm putting you full screen again to see what is going on here. Have you even ever worn that shoe? Is that a brand new shoe, Cody?
No.
It's no children's rain boot, don't get me wrong. But that thing's looking... Like, you've had ones with, like, horse shit literally on them before. So I was expecting something real nasty. That's a clean-looking boot.
Yeah, first of all, what, am I going to drink beer out of a cow shit or a horse shit boot just because that's what Paul Shaughnessy wants to say? No. Paul Shaughnessy took 500 chewies out of a small children's boot, which was brand new, which he bought at the shop. These are some hiking boots. You know what I specifically chose them for? Was that there was going to be less drippage, which didn't really prove to be the case. Times I've worn wrestling shoes or say running shoes, those are a little more ventilated, so the beer just drips all over the place. Whatever, you got your shoey. If you want to take another one on this card at some point, be my guest, but there's honestly nothing that I feel like super duper confident. My take on this main event though is that This is one of the underdogs that I would go with in Ilia Topuria. The guy's he's 28 years old.
He's a favorite.
Yeah, he's one of the favorites I'm going with, and I got a pile of underdogs after this.
Okay.
But again, if you're looking for some of the guys that should be safe, main event hedge off of the table, like that aside, I like what Ilia Topuria brings to the table. Now, yeah, he's moving up to 155 pounds. He's giving up 3 inches in height to Charles Oliveira. He's giving up 5 inches in the reach department to Charles Oliveira. This is, in my opinion, the toughest guy that he's fought, being that Charles is a big, lengthy guy that can strike and is really good on the ground. When you look at Ilia Topuria, he's fought in a lot of guys that weren't necessarily trying to take him down. Only guy that was able to do that was Bryce Mitchell. And so when you look at Charles Oliveira, is his wrestling not better than Bryce Mitchell's? Could he not, in theory, get him down? You mentioned a couple other spots where it's like, oh, he briefly got head kicked by Jai Herbert. Well, in theory, is Charles Oliveira not excellent at throwing those knees, throwing those elbows, throwing those kicks? Could he not make something happen? On top of that, he's a submission leader, so it's like this is the best grappler that Topuria has fought. There's a lot of unknowns that would definitely make Charles Oliveira a desirable underdog, I think. Long tenure, fought in the best guys. But again, I just go back to that nuclear power from Topuria. He's only 28. He's 7 years younger than Charles Oliveira. He doesn't have that same type of ring rust, not ring rust, but just like wear and tear, general wear and tear. When he fights guys like a Max Holloway or Alexander Volkanovski, who are a little bit older, a little more tenured, but still world class, he just nukes them. Like outside of Islam Makhachev head kick, Volkanovski's cast iron, but this guy touches him and he waits and he's patient. The Max Holloway fight, it feels like Max is outworking him a little bit early. He's patient. When he lands those shots, he's knocking out guys that have never been knocked out, or at the very least have just proven to have unbelievable durability, like a Max Holloway. When I look at Charles, it's like Charles is a train wreck. That's why we love him. He's everybody's favorite fighter. He's your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. And of course, he's an entertainer. He's a submission leader. He can snatch your neck at any point. He's also got nasty striking game, but he generally takes a lot of damage. And when you look at a lot of those fights that he's winning, say the first Michael Chandler fight, he gets beat up in that first round pretty good. He comes back and he knocks out Michael Chandler early in the second. His fight with Dustin Poirier, he gets hurt pretty good. He ends up choking out Dustin Poirier. His fight with Justin Gaethje, again, he comes up off the canvas. His fight with Islam Makhachev, he gets knocked down, but then eventually gets submitted. It's 4 straight fights where he gets seriously hurt in all 4 of them, right? The guy's got resolve. The guy's got the ability to fight back in the fight. Once known as a fighter with little heart, has proven to be one of the fighters with the most heart. But you can get away with that for only so long. Eventually, you're going to run into one of these young bucks that's not going to let you up. That's not going to give you a chance. Topuria is also a BJJ black belt, and though you haven't really seen it, and it's hard to judge how good of a black belt he is, the team that he was under in Spain is a top-level team with solid grappling. So I don't think he's going to be totally a fish out of water. He's physically stronger than Charles, even though he's the shorter man. Charles used to fight at 145 too. Like, he's not the biggest guy going. So I just feel like it's a 5-round fight. Eventually, he's going to catch him. And when you look at Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler his last time out, the 5th round, there's a lot of illegal activity going on in that 5th round, but the 5th round, Chandler almost puts him away. And Chandler's just a shot version of himself. So it's basically the future versus the past. And Ilia Topuria, there's a clear message from the UFC. Vacate 145, come up to 155. Allegedly, they went to Dagestan. Hunter Campbell went to Dagestan. Talk Islam Makhachev into vacating 155, so Topuria could go up. So this is their plan. And Charles Oliveira, fan favorite, he's tenured, he's got a good name, is the perfect opponent for you to get a sweet highlight reel and a championship belt out of it. So unfortunately, as big of a Charles Oliveira fan as I am, I got to go with Ilia Topuria here to get the title.
Yeah. I don't know at minus 500, me, the value boy, blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, I don't know at minus 500 if there's quote unquote value on Topuria, but I tend to agree with you. Like, I'm trying to find, I love betting underdogs and stuff, but I'm seeing all the same things as you. And I mean, Topuria, he came into the UFC as like an underdog. What was his debut again? I kind of forget off the top of my head.
Yusuf Zalal, and he arguably lost the 3rd round, and they'll show you that minute-long clip, but it's like it's 5 years ago. He's 23 years old. It's his debut.
Yeah, I remember cashing him at like plus 160 against Yusuf Zalal, which actually in hindsight, Zalal is actually a lot. Zalal got cut and then kind of had to come back, but like in hindsight, Zalal was a lot better than than maybe I gave him credit for after that, because everything after that was just like, okay, this guy is the guy that you kind of saw on tape, on the regional scene kind of coming up. This guy's a certified problem. And I don't know if I really thought immediately that this guy was going to be a champion. I just knew that like he was going to crack the top 15. And yeah, 155 versus Jai Herbert, short notice, just kind of taking a fight to get up there. He did get rocked, but if you knock this guy down, he's not going away. 16-0 for a reason. You strike me as an over 1.5 minus 140 kind of guy. That seems like how you're looking
Yeah,
at it. It's
I
sketchy
don't,
because
yeah,
of these
I
guys.
don't love it. I don't love it
No?
because of, yeah, both guys are violent. And for Charles Oliveira, he's
Yeah.
going to come in hot. People forget that Charles missed weight for the Justin Gaethje fight, I believe. Got stripped from his title, right? And then he ended up having to fight for a vacant title against Makhachev. So this weight cut's not super easy for him, and it's championship weight because there's a belt on the line. So he comes out and just decides, I'm going to put it on this guy. Topuria's going to gladly meet him in the center of the octagon and throw down. Charles' durability is not good enough to take that heat. Flip side to that, puncher's chance. And who better than a puncher's chance than Charles? He throws dynamic striking techniques, and also he's got the grappling to back it up. So I'll tell you, my biggest worry about this thing is that Charles just takes him right down, goes to the back, puts a body triangle on him, and then roughs him up, because you have not really seen Topuria tested that much. Bryce, at the time, it was like, well, Bryce is going to be a top 5 guy, but Bryce is awful and his wrestling is really not that good. So, I think I'm being a little bit harsh there, but again, Bryce is looking to drop down to 135 for his next fight. He's not Charles Oliveira. That's the bottom line. So you're right. The line does feel off for someone as violent and as successful as a Charles Oliveira, but yeah, it's just a passing of the torch for me. And there's plenty of other plus money that I'm chasing on this one that I just can't go behind Chucky O this time.
No, I hear that. And like the thing about it is that like yeah, Oliveira, the last 2 fights that I consider like the last 2 fights that he's taken on elite, top of the food chain in the year 2024, 2025 type of fighters. And it hasn't gone well for him. Makhachev, and Sarukian, who,
Who outstruck him pretty good, to be honest with
and
you.
wrestled them and was just able
Yeah.
to hang out in that guard.
Close
Like I
fight, though. That Darce in the third round kind of made it iffy.
and that's why Charles is always super
Yeah.
dangerous. And that's why like minus 500, it's just like this number, fight odds, always has the goods on this type of stuff. But like it keeps up with everything that's going on. But yeah, it's just like as the number kind of climbs here, it's just like at minus 500, like I would expect some dog money to come in on like Saturday on Charles Oliveira. Like, and I'm not even necessarily saying that like mathematically that's the side or anything like that. But you know how these things kind of move. I'd be very surprised to see Topuria go off at like minus 600, 700, 800, I think at this point. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I agree. It's like a common pick that he's a fan favorite. Come fight week, people are going to see, oh, there's huge plus money. As parlays break throughout the night, people are getting into that chasing habit. How are you going to chase on a guy that's minus 500, right? You're just going to auto spam the other side. So, yeah, I do believe that at some point, Oliveira starts to take some action. But I don't know. Everyone I've talked to, or everyone that like I respect what they've got to say, is mostly on Topuria. So it seems like that's where the money's going to keep trending, is towards the guy that most people think is going to win. But you see on fight day, especially recently, a lot of these lines have just been moving all over the place. And Paul, you can attest to this because we've been doing the show now for 12 years, but there's a minus 2,000 on this card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jacoby Smith. And there's been a minus 1,200 on the last card or 2 cards ago. And before that, there's a minus 30. Like that never used to
It happens
happen.
every week now.
Ever. Yeah, now it's just a weekly occurrence. And you'd see it on the regional show. You'd be like, oh, this guy's a minus 2,800 because he's going to romp, but not at the UFC level. Agapova loses. She's the biggest favorite to ever lose. She's a minus 1,350, I think she went off at. And now it's just like the norm. It's like every card's got a fight booked like that. So bookmaker don't line it the way they used to. They want you to overinvest so that you've got a smaller return and you're taking a lot of risk still. You have to parlay an extra guy on that leg because the return's not that great, because the guys that you do like
Yep.
are big favorites. One of the big favorites on this card is Topuria because people like him, so they want you to pay. So it's all built to just trap you, but hopefully my boy, it's hard to say hopefully Topuria just nukes Charles and gets it over with so I don't got to sweat it, because I'd like Charles. I don't want him to get nuked. But it's like,
Oh, both of these
yeah,
guys. So
I just
like
had a
it's
3rd kid. It's time to start putting some extra money aside. I need Charles to get nuked here, so I'm gonna go with Topuria, as harsh as that is, and hopefully he can make it
I
happen.
I'm going with them as well. But I think what would actually I think what's really happening right now in terms of the market is that like people are adding Topuria to like all of their parlays and stuff. And on fight day, if those parlays get to the main event or a couple fights before the main event or whenever, say if they parlay, Topuria and they really like Gregory Rodrigues and Diniz and Jacoby Smith. Well, it's like when they get to Gregory Rodrigues right before that Lima fight, they're hedging that shit. So it's like these markets are going. I feel like they're going to collapse. So hopping on Topuria at this price, I think is like not optimal if you're going with that side. Like I'd be very surprised if he goes off at like -800. But the market surprised me all the time. Either way, I think we did our due diligence on that breakdown. We move on to the co-main event. We've got Alexandre Pantoja taking on Kai Kara France. Pantoja is a -250 favorite to come back on the Kiwi. Kai Kara France is +210. Your thoughts?
I got Kai Kara France, and there's not like anything super special to this, but it's a flyweight fight. It's a 5-rounder. You know it's going to be close. You know it's going to be competitive. Pantoja's fought this similar type of style and struggled with it in the past. And of course, it's like no MMA math here included. You can't say, well, Pantoja damn near lost to Steve Ursig and Kai Kara France melted him in the first round. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Steve Ursig was like 3 fights into the UFC, had no notable victories, was the number 7th ranked guy in the division, and he gave Pantoja everything he can handle. The guy's 35 years old at flyweight. Like, his time is coming, first of all. All these flyweight fights are competitive all of the time. And to take an underdog in Kai Kara France, which one, there's some good plus money here. We know we have a striking advantage. We got to keep the fight standing, but if the fight does stay standing, we've got a path of victory instantly there. Okay, so what's his takedown defense like? Well, really not that bad. He shows 88% in the UFC, but what's more impressive to me is like Amir Albazi. He can wrestle. He's a big, strong guy. Albazi goes 1 for 9 on takedowns. He did rack up some control time, but he really couldn't get to him. That Brandon Moreno fight, which he's winning the first 2 rounds, I think, until he gets knocked out in the third, but Moreno goes 0 for 3. So Brandon Moreno couldn't take him down, which is pretty impressive considering Moreno's an excellent wrestler. More impressive than those ones, though, is you go back to his fight with Askar Askarov. Askar Askarov gets 2 takedowns on 14 attempts. Now, why that's important is Askar Askarov is an excellent wrestler. And in fact, Askar Askarov is the last guy to beat Alexander Pantoja. So Pantoja's wrestling is not elite. He's got an elite ability to create a scramble and take your back. His grappling is elite. His wrestling, there does leave something to be desired. When you do see him in these fights, like, say, the Ursig fight, he's relying on tons of takedowns because eventually his opponents do get up. It's not as easy as he instantly takes your back and subs you. Brandon Royval, he had to take him down 8 times. Steve Ursig, he had to take him 9 times. Kai Asakura, who's got really no grappling, he still did have to take him down 3 times. I just look at Kai Kara France's success against guys trying to take him down, his ability to scramble, his his tenacity. He's the younger guy. He's the better striker. He's just got to create scrambles, keep getting back up to his feet, and land the more damaging blows. Ursig almost won, if not for a bonehead decision. If Kai Kara France doesn't do that, he's going to have a lot of success. You've seen Pantoja get hurt standing a bunch of times. It's his ability to just make these grappling matches. So yeah, it's going to be a sprawl and brawl here. But flyweight fight, again, you know it's going to be close and competitive. You know it's going to be entertaining. You know it's going to be back and forth. I'm going to have viable damage being caused, whereas Pantoja might have some control time. Leave it in the judges' scorecard. See what happens. I'd rather be holding that plus money ticket if that was the case. So I'll take Kai Kara France, but you're obviously expecting a sweat. It's a flyweight fight. You're going against Pantoja, who's very skilled individual. But again, he's 35, and at this division, that does mean something. So I got to end new in the co-main event.
I can't really disagree too much. -250 for Pantoja. And I love Pantoja. I think I bet Pantoja just about every single fight over the last
He's legit.
over the last few years. And like I always hear maybe from you, like, oh, he's got no cardio, he's got this, no that, blah, 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 blah. And like he definitely looks like he slows down, but he somehow keeps going, which is great and all, but I feel like eventually you're right. Like 35 years old, flyweight, it's a speed game. It's a young man's game. Kai Kara France is how old right now? Pantoja
think he's 31.
3 years younger, which
3 years.
frankly, on heavyweight, that probably doesn't mean anything. At flyweight, that can kind of mean the entire world, to be perfectly honest. So the chin for Pantoja has always been super, super elite. My only, I guess, question with Kai Kara-France is like, if we go 5 rounds here, are we going to have any sort of issues? Like, that's like, if it's a grapple heavy type of fight, I mean, in the Amir Albazi fight, he didn't really, show these types of issues all that much. He kind of got better, round 4 and 5, 27 significant strikes, 34 significant strikes. So he's got 5-round cardio. He was able to stuff all of those takedowns and really doesn't get the decision, but probably should have. I'm with you. I think it's dog or pass. A plus 210. You could do a lot worse, I think, this week than Kai Kara-France in the main event. Pantoja, as much as I love him, as much as I backed him every single time, I do think, I agree with a lot of the sentiments that you kind of shared there. It's just like the time is coming. We've seen a slight maybe decline in a few of his performances, and like we weren't like I wasn't fooled by the last time out there taking on Kai Izakura. I didn't think that was competitive at all. I had Pantoja sub, I had Pantoja and parlays and stuff like that, but Kai's proven a hell of a lot more to us at this stage, and I think this is his time. That's not to say that Kai doesn't win the belt here and then just go out and lose to one other very talented flyweight. Like, I don't know if Kai's going to be a long-term reigning champion, and you got to commend Pantoja for his absolutely epic winning streak that he went on, losing to Askarov and then, following that up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight wins in this division. I mean, maybe one outside of like Demetrius Johnson, maybe one of the best flyweight champions of all time. It must be in the conversation. Either way, we stay in the flyweight division. A fight that I feel like if somebody misses weight, one of these guys would step in. We got Brandon Royval taking on Joshua Van, minus 120 for Van. The comeback on Royval, plus 100. Pretty much a straight pick 'em, Cody. Who you got?
Another competitive flyweight fight that could go either way. The difference is you can't just dog or pass this one because there's not really plus money here. But I do have Royval at plus 100. I just think he's a little more well-rounded and a little more experienced. No discredit to Josh Van, whom I'm a big fan of. Excellent striker, the future of the division. But where Josh Van thrives is his volume. He just swarms these guys. They got bad cardio, not bad cardio, but he's doing so much that eventually they slow down. You can watch Van, and similar to a Marlon Vera, he loses the first round a lot. Now, recently, he's been getting off to a better start, but he's a bit of a slow starter and then just eventually swarms you with volume down the stretch. Mm-hmm. What I like about Royval is training at altitude and known for his cardio game. He's not a guy that's going to slow down. So having a bad first round against him and needing to win second and the third, that's going to be difficult. Swarming him with 100-plus significant strikes, he can match that. But where Van has always struggled a little bit when you watch tape on him on the regional scene is his grappling game, right? Even in the UFC 2 fights back against Ray Saruya took him down 4 times. The difference is that when the fight was standing, Ray can't strike with him. Ray has no striking. So if Royval can get similarly 4 takedowns and some control time, but actually can keep up pace on the feet, not win every single exchange, not knock Josh Van out, but keep the volume. He hits you, you got to hit him back. Keep it interesting, keep it tight, keep the judges saying, this is a competitive round, then hit that takedown, then seal the deal, then take it away from him. Again, with Van, you've seen him give up his back sometimes. You've seen him, just a little bit off in transitions. And against Royval, he's been there against the best guys of the division and largely done really good for them. He fought Tatsuya Tairez last time out, arguably one of the better guys in the division for grappling, and he held his own. He got taken down 6 times. He scrambled. He defended the choke. He defended giving up his back. He landed 124 significant strikes. It's an excellent fight, but it's a full scrap. And that's what you can expect out of him. He knew about this fight in advance because he was fighting Manel Kopp. So he's had a full camp to prepare for one of the best guys. A win over Manel Kopp literally puts him as the next guy in line to fight for the flyweight strap. So it's a high-level fight. Van, meanwhile, kid's young. He fights once a month. He's been smashing everybody. But the facts are he's got wins over Bruno Silva, Ray Saruya, Cody Durden, Edgar Chavez, lost to Charles Johnson, who's like a, fringe contender. Flip side to that, Royval, who's not old by any stretch for this division. It sounds, like he's getting up there. He's 33, sorry, but in the same breath, he's fought Brandon Moreno multiple times. He's fought Alexandre Pantoja to a competitive 5-round fight. He fought Tetsuya Taira, as I mentioned. He's fought Matus Nicolau and Rogerio Bontorin and Kai Kara France and Tim Elliott. Like, that's the gamut. He's been in there with better guys, more experienced guys. He knows a thing or two. He's crafty. He's had the full camp. I just think that he's going to be able to edge this thing out. So I expect another close competitive fight. And I'm not saying that Josh Van can't beat him up standing. It's the mixed martial arts side of it. Which again, Van is starting to fill in the holes in his game, but we can catch him. We can catch him right now. Got to do it early because in a few years from now, this kid's going to be a real problem. But I think Royval does catch him now, early. So doesn't necessarily have to be inside the distance. Just outwork this guy, throw some takedowns in the mix, and secure a decision.
Yeah, that or, me, I'm always looking for other ways. Like,
by submission?
Yeah. I'm like...
I would fault it.
Like plus, I see as high as plus 800 right now on the market. That's kind of outside of the Charles Johnson knockout there, but like that's kind of been one of the questions that we have about Van, and I think Royval represents the best submission grappler that Joshua Van has faced at this point. If Royval can get some takedowns, create some crazy scrambles, we've seen Royval when he's at his absolute best. Cause fits for just about anybody. So I like Van. I like what Van's done. I'm just kind of, I'm not ready to crown him quite yet. Like, yeah, that Royval sub plus 800 looks a little spicy to me. We'll see what becomes available to me. Already on the move at Bet Online. So somebody out there, wasn't me, is thinking the same way as me. Yeah, I think on the feet, probably competitive. Both guys land a ton. If it goes to decision, I suppose if it goes to decision, it could be one of those ones that ends up in a split decision. But, and yeah, like you'd be very, very, very closely contested, and you won't really know who kind of wins because I expect both of these guys could easily eclipse 100 significant strikes in this fight. No questions asked. So I guess people who play like DFS and stuff like that could be like the sneaky fight to like double stack. That's way above my pay grade, but yeah, Royval by sub is of interest, and Royval money line. I'm sure I'll probably get to it by fight day. Moving on down, we got Beneil Dariush taking on Renato Moicano. Pretty much a straight pick 'em here again. Cody, who you got?
I like the underdog again. I got Beneil Dariush, but this one really comes down to like, where's Beneil at? What's he got left in the tank? What's his durability like? Because the last couple of fights have not been kind to Beneil Dariush, who's, at least to his credit, been off for a year and a half, which I hope to clear the cobwebs. But his last time out against Arman Sarukian, he just gets knocked out essentially right away. And then against Charles Oliveira prior to that, another beaten. That's the 5th time in his pro career that he's been knocked out. And when you look at a lot of those, say Alexander Hernandez once upon a time, Ramsey Nijum on the very first episode of Bookie Beatdown, like 12 years ago, back in 2014 on the Abu Dhabi card. Yeah, when he gets knocked out, it's a Barbosa fight. Oh my God. One of the nastiest knockouts you've ever seen in your life. So, like, I do think that the end is getting there for Beneil Dariush, and I don't really think his durability is quite what it used to be. I have some concerns. That being said, it's like I'm looking at this from, well, what does Renato Moicano have in the punching power department? Is he an elite level striker? Is he someone that's going to knock you out standing? And like, no, not necessarily. He did put an absolute savage beating on Benoit Saint Denis, but that came from being on top of him on the ground and just landing nasty ground and pound. When you look at the wrestling, well, Beneil Dariush is far and away a better wrestler than Renato Moicano. Where Moicano is a BJJ black belt, crafty. Oh, Beneil Dariush is also a BJJ black belt who, again, his game is take you down, not hold you down, but just staple you down, give you no space to operate with. He's fought elite level black belts before, most notably Carlos Diego Ferreira twice. The second time, 5 takedowns on him. When he fought Tony Ferguson, it doesn't look good in hindsight because Tony Ferguson seriously regressed after that. But at the time, it was a good win. And he fought just a really smart game plan. 3 takedowns, 1 in each round, holds him down. there's nothing you can do about it. Moicano sometimes gets a little bit content fighting off his back. He's not physically the strongest guy going. Even though Beneil's old, Moicano's 1 year younger, I believe. So like, there's not really much. They've got similar amount of professional fights. If you look at their records, they're like near identical, right? Beneil Dariush is 22, 6-1. Moicano is 20, 6-1. So they both got 6 laws in that dross and then over 20 wins. What I'm saying is I do think that a lot of the ways these guys do mirror each other, but as far as the stand-up game goes, I think Beneil Dariush is a better striker. He's got a nasty body kick. He's a smart guy, high ring IQ, decent hands. Moicano's got a little more length to him, but I think Beneil's going to be able to counter over top of that. As far as the wrestling game goes, I give the edge to Beneil Dariush. I think he's got better wrestling. I think if he wants to take Renato Moicano down, he should be able to do that. As far as the grappling goes, let's say it's moot. Let's say it just nullifies itself. I want the guy that's going to be on top, not a guy that can defend everything from his back, but it's on his back the entire time. So it really just does come down to what can Beneil still take damage-wise. He also had the canceled fight against Moicano because Moicano got moved to the Makhachev fight, and then he's sat around waiting. Did he go through another camp? Did he have to spar hard again? There's unknowns into where he's at, but I have to go for skill. I got to go for what I think is going to be the Beneil Dariush that shows up on Saturday, and that version I think can go and edge this thing. Could it be another close decision, a split? Yeah, sure. It could be close and competitive, but it's underdog for Beneil, and I think he can get the job done.
And the only thing, we're on the same page on everything here, but the only thing that I would really add to that is like, I don't know if Moicano's chin has been all that great over the course of his career either. We've seen him.
He's been knocked out 3 times.
We've seen him knocked out. We've seen him knocked down. Like even in the Jalen Turner fight, he was knocked down in that fight. So yeah, Dariush's chin is, not optimal, but Moicano's not the biggest power puncher in the division. It's a lot of like smashing guys when he gets them to the ground. If wrestling gets absolutely stuffed there, if he doesn't get top position, I think like submission grappling will probably be a wash in this fight. Neither guy is like ridiculously high volume, probably a close fight, but I'll take the guy that I think is the better wrestler. Just exactly kind of like what you said there. So Dariush is also the pick for me. I'm sure in some way, shape, or form I will get to that on a betting perspective. Moving on. Oh God, that was a mistake. We're on the fly.
Making it happen.
Yeah, it happened. That was ran into my keyboard with the mouse. Anyway, we'll share this tab instead because it's not way off. We got Payton Talbott taking on Felipe Lima. Felipe Lima is a minus 185 favorite. Comeback on Talbott. It can be had for like plus 160. I'm sure there's better on the market right now, but there's been a little bit of a buyback on Payton Talbott here, and this was a guy who was like everybody's, little darling and stuff, heading into the Barcelos fight, and got exposed. Happens. You're young, you take on a guy with that much experience, with half decent Brazilian wrestling pedigree. I would say that like my takeaways from that fight, like rewatching it, is one, at least the kid didn't quit on himself. You know what I mean? I thought that was okay. And my other takeaway from like actually going through tape and looking at this stuff is I don't think Felipe Lima is that great of a wrestler, to be perfectly honest. Like I think his defensive wrestling is pretty solid. Going through a whole bunch of his different fights and stuff, like even on like the regional scene, I didn't really see somebody that I love. On top of that, he's 4 inches shorter. He's giving up at least a couple inches in the reach department. So his best, Felipe Lima's best strike on the feet is that jab. Well, that jab is going up in the air, trying to land on Payton Talbott. All that to say, I think that like the market's kind of overreacted. I think that I think Talbot at dog money is the side for me. What's your take here?
Yeah, I got Payton Talbot at dog money. When you look at, just like you said, Paul, right? He's everybody's darling. People can watch him and recognize, like, damn, this guy's got some serious skill. He's an elite striker, what appears to move like an elite striker. Even though he got exposed against Rowney, you still can't look at that fight and say he's not an elite striker. No, he got taken down a pile of times. But he's still a young guy. He's got good skills. This is a moment where you go back to the drawing board and you need to improve. You know this is the hole in your game, and you know future opponents are going to try to expose that. But this guy goes from being like a 10-1 favorite over Raoni Barcelos, loses to a solid guy, definitely the best gatekeeper of the division. You lose to him, and now you're a 2-1 betting underdog. Like, I think people they were so mad, and he cost a lot of people money, and he blew a lot of tickets, and he was supposed to be the safe guy, and he lost two 30-27s and a 30-26. So it's a route that they've completely written him off. But he does still have admirable skills. He does still have, a decent future. It was just like a building block type spot. Now, what I am concerned about is that he wrestled in high school in Reno, and he got exposed that bad against Raoni. It's like, how to wrestle. You've been wrestling for 10 years, and this is what it looks like. It'd be different if you were a kickboxing champion or somebody that had no experience wrestling, and that's what you look like. This guy actually does. So how much better is it going to get? I'm not really sure. But it's like you said with Lima. Lima's not exactly a world-class wrestler. When you watch him fight on the octagon scene, whether it be against Jonas Mangard, it's hard to say that a guy that's a European regional scene level guy would translate over to the UFC. When those guys come in and fight Payton Talbott, he's smoking them. A Yanis Garamudi, it's non-competitive. So it's very difficult to say how good Lima looks there. When he fights Naimov wins the first round. Second round's super close. And the third round, he's losing the start of the third round, but he ends up taking him down and choking him out. His next time out against Miles John, who wrestled in college, solid wrestler, he goes 2 for 5 on takedowns against John. You can see that he can wrestle, but keep in mind, Raoni goes 8 out of 15. That's all Raoni Barcelos did the entire time was shoot takedowns. Yep. You can watch other guys that he fights on the regional scene, and they decide to do the exact same thing. Most notably would be his fights with Calder, which is his debut. But if you want to watch one back, this Christian Rivas. Christian Rivas was a part of the Ecuadorian national team. Guy shoots a lot of takedowns, and he takes Payton Talbott down like 6 or 7 times, but he just keeps getting up, and he ends up putting him away in the third round. You look at Payton Talbott versus Raoni Barcelos, the third round is the most competitive because Raoni's tired of shooting all these takedowns, and Raoni's got excellent cardio. He just had a gut check 2 weeks ago against Cody Garbrandt, 1-1 going into the third, and Raoni dog walks him for the entirety of it. Yet against Payton, it's like that continuous having to shoot. The kid gets back up, take him down again. Raoni took him down 3 times in the first round, 3 times in the second round, twice in the third round. It's all wrestling. If Lima doesn't do that, he's going to stand with him. And if he stands with them, yeah, Payton Talbott absolutely has a chance. One little weird thing about this fight, too. It's in Nevada. Payton Talbott is going to be on the card. They like him, even though he lost his last fight. He's still a good prospect. He lives in Las Vegas. He's from Las Vegas. It's a no-brainer. He's going to be on the card. Lima, meanwhile, only gets contacted 5 weeks ago, and they ask him if he wants to fight Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez allegedly never even signs a contract for it, but all the same, they call him and they say, sorry, he's out. Keep busy. We'll find you somebody. And then only like 2 weeks ago does he get the call saying, yeah, it's Payton Talbott you're going to fight instead. So
greasy.
Yeah, it's greasy, but I feel like he was saying to the media, like, I've had 5 weeks to train for this. I've known that I was having a fight. But Payton, I bet you, has had 8 to 12 weeks and was specifically told, we're coming back to T-Mobile on 3/17 and you'll be on it. So improve from your last fight until then, and we'll get you a guy that's, this is not the easiest fight in the world. They're not giving a walk back, but They're paying him money. There's expectations. This would be a very nice quality victory. So it comes down to the same points you made, okay? It's the wrestling. Lima not as good as Raoni. Therefore, we're going to have more striking in this fight. And if we can keep this fight striking, then why are we bailing on Payton Talbott, right? We can get plus money on him. Yeah, exactly. It's plus money. So normally a guy that loses at 10-1 the next time out, they're only a 2-1 favorite. They're only a 3-1.
Oh, he sucks now, Cody. He's terrible. He's
right. They've just completely written him off.
26-year-old kid can improve fight to fight. Like, it's crazy.
I noticed there was a lot of hate for him online beforehand. I don't know. He paints his nails, or I don't really watch a ton of his interviews, but maybe he said some stuff that people don't agree with. But there's like just naturally a hate for him. And so I feel like that's rolled over and they want to see him lose, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to. And I got a lot of dogs in the shop on this card, but Payton Talbott's another one of them.
Yeah, I mean, he's a younger kid that, like, I don't know, his interests and stuff. And, like, you go on, like, his Instagram and stuff. It's a little bit bizarre, but, like, I'm a boomer at this point. I don't get it. What he's doing over on there probably seems pretty cool to other people. I'm just like, what? How do I reach these kids? Like, that's kind of, like, the vibe. coming from me.
Yeah, I
And
used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. And
exactly.
now what it is not something I'm with. And what it is makes me scared and lonely. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't understand. But what I do understand is fist fights. And you know me, I don't ever go on a card and call more dogs than favorites. Like, I try to keep it concise. I try to keep it who I think wins more time than not. But there just seems to be tons of value. Parlays might be tough, but you only got to hit like a 2-legger and you'll be getting a lot of value. A 3-legger would be a ton of value, because there's more coming beyond Payton Talbott.
All right. Are they coming in this next fight? We got Gregory Rodrigues taking on Jack the Joker Hermansson. Rodriguez a minus 220 favorite. The comeback on Hermansson plus 185. Your thoughts, Cody?
I kind of had to pump the brakes because originally I'm thinking Hermansson at a dog shop. He's fought in a far superior level of competition. Gregory Rodrigues fights almost no grapplers, like at all. Like quite literally every guy that they've ever booked him with is a striker. The best grappler he's ever fought would be Jung Young Park, and that was 4 years ago. And it's his most notable win is Jung Young Park 4 years ago, and it aged well. Whereas you look at Jack Hermansson, it's like, man, he's just coming off a win a little while ago now, but over Joe Pyfer. He's beaten Kelvin Gastelum. He lost a competitive split decision to Sean Strickland. He's been in there with just far superior level of guys. Why not take a little back class on Jack? Here's the thing. If you're going to take Jack, and I wouldn't disagree with it, if you're going to take him, you take him as a live bet after the first round. Like Jack's known for taking a bit of a whipping early. He did against Edmund Shabazian. He did against Pyfer. Is that he's a savvy veteran with good grappling skills that can extend you. And with RoboCop, his last time out, his body physically shut down from having to cut to 185. He goes out there, looks good for a round, and then completely falls apart. So the way to beating him is extending him, making
Yeah.
him grapple, making him carry your weight, and tiring him out. But who's the better striker? Well, you could say, oh, Jack Hermansson looked really good against Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis is a welterweight, and RoboCop's a 205er that somehow makes middleweight. No idea how. And second thing being is that like he mostly just skirts the outside of the cage, hits him and runs. Like I don't know that he's going to be able to do that against RoboCop. Curtis is a counterpuncher, so he's waiting for you to throw, and you're skirting away, and you're hitting him, and you're moving out of dodge constantly. It's just frustrating. I don't think he has the same success. RoboCop could knock him out. You catch him with something. If Rodrigues knocks him out, it's done. If Rodrigues can just win these striking exchanges, keep this fight standing, I think he wins definitely the first round, maybe the first round and a half, maybe it carries over. Because Jack's been on the layoff, because Jack's a tad bit chinny, I feel like I'm not going to get to a Hermansson pick personally and probably do end up with Gregory Rodrigues. However, live betting standpoint, if you're taking Jack, if you're taking Rodrigues, you're probably going to take him pre-fight flop because he's going to look good for the first 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And then after that, I do expect him to fall apart. Getting back to the striker thing, though, his last fight, Jared Cannonier. Before that, Christian Leroy Duncan, pure striker. Brad Tavares, pure striker. Dennis Tulin, pure striker. Bruno Ferreira, pure striker. Chidi Njokwani got a black belt. Can't call him a pure striker. But if you know Chidi Bang Bang, the guy pretty well just only strikes. Julian Marquez, I don't know if he can grapple at all. He's a pure striker. Armin Petrosian, I know he can't grapple at all. He's a pure striker. And as I mentioned, Jung Young Park and then Dusko Todorovic. So by far and away, Jack's a guy that wrestled Khamzat Chimaev just wrestling over in Sweden. And like, if you watch that, you can find it online. If you watch that tape back, Chimaev tosses him around for the first round. And then the second round of the match, he's tired. And Jack all of a sudden's giving him everything he can handle. He can wrestle. He's fought better guys. Best grappler RoboCop's fought in a while. RoboCop struggled in grappling spots against Petrosian. He had his back. Petrosian turns into him. He scrambles. He gets back up. There's a lot of things that suggest that Hermansson is a better fighter than Rodrigues. It's the layoff. It's the age. It's the durability. I've picked a lot of underdogs to this point. I don't need every single one of them. If you're spamming underdogs, though, I mean, Hermansson's as fine as any of the other ones on this card, but you're going to get a better price after he takes a whipping in the first round. And then if you're betting him, you're hoping he comes back after that and makes it happen. So live bet Hermansson, if anything. But for me, taking the coward's way out on this one, taking Rodrigues.
I don't know if it's coward's way out. It's like I went back and we cashed huge. I had a huge night that night against Pyfer because like I didn't really didn't make sense to me, but a lot of that not making sense to me that night had to do with the fact that it was a 5-round fight. Pyfer hadn't proven anything to us in that. And I went back, I rewatched that fight, and just like Pyfer's very clearly up 2-1 heading into the 4th and 5th. And Jack is like taking over, the second half of the fight. And that's exactly how we had capped it and why we thought as long as Pyfer doesn't get him out of there, like Jack will take over late. Now you have a year and a half off for Hermansson. I really don't think he can like physically bully Rodrigues in round one. My general, my pick is G-Rod as well. I don't know if the number's all that far off.
What's the
I just
G-Rod
don't.
on Fight Oz? What's the best market price on G-Rod by knockout? Because listen, we cashed against the Hermansson Pyfer, but we also cashed Jared Cannonier versus RoboCop, thinking the later rounds, and it was the later rounds, but Cannonier took a beating in that fight to get to the later rounds, which Hermansson is not going to take. So if you don't like that minus 225 on G-Rod, likely his win condition is to knock out Jack Hermansson.
I could see him win. I could see him not like maybe rocking, winning those first two rounds, and then just kind of like coasting / not surviving, because like
Fair.
just like like I don't know if knockout is like a stone cold lock by any stretch of the imagination. And you know me, I love betting these types of props and stuff like that. But like I wouldn't be surprised by like G-Rod just had so many fights that do get extended that you don't necessarily at the time. Him versus Cannonier, it didn't get finished, but if it was a 3-round fight, they're going to the final bell there somehow. Like Cannonier almost damn well killed him in some spots there. It's Christian Leroy Duncan, I mean, he was able to get the wrestling going there. But again, Brad Tavares, like, I mean, it gets into the third round, and then he literally just was just like, I'm going to kill you now. And it just pounds him away, just like with like standing hammer fists and shit. Like it was very, very violent. But
Brad's hard to put away. Dennis is a bum.
went to decision. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see Jack get to the
or not easy.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
Only guy to knock out Jung Young Park. That's gotta count for something.
Like the Delize fight, I did watch that back, and like that wasn't great, but that's because Delize was just like out muscling. Maybe that happens if they end up getting to the mat. Don't get me wrong, it's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but like I don't think Hermansson's that easy to get out of there, to be perfectly honest. So it's just Delize that's really got him out of there in the last little bit. Cannonier back in 2019, but now we're talking 6 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rodrigues actually win a decision here. Win the first 2 rounds just by being more physical, maybe composing himself in terms of the amount of output, because like he went absolutely nuclear and tried to kill Cannonier. And like I was sitting there with big, you felt like you're kind of like dodging bullets in that fight between Cannonier and G-Rod, because like that line made no sense to me. But in round 1, I'm like, okay, this is why he was the big underdog. Cannonier got through it and everything like that, but trust me, the butt was most certainly puckered. We move on. We've got Jose Delgado taking on Hyder Amil. Delgado a minus 156 favorite to come back on Hurricane Hyder, plus 136 at this current moment in time. Your thoughts?
I actually want you to kick this one off because Hyder Amil's kind of your guy, and yeah, he's 35, but you always tell me don't matter because this dude's in wicked good shape. And again, it's like there's so many underdogs that got a shot. I mentioned at the top of the show, you can make a solid case for all of them, and Hyder's another one of them. I don't know that I'm getting there, being that I like Jose Delgado, 27, MMA lab, solid footwork, really dynamic striking, hits very, very hard, but defensive wrestling's not all that good. Being at the MMA lab, it'll get good. But as it is right now, it's not. You look at his only pro loss, Chris McCott, who he wrestled at Old Dominion. He's a pretty solid yoke of a man. Probably be in the UFC at some point himself. Point being, it's like these strong physical guys that are willing to fight you in the pocket and back you up and dog you and mix in takedowns seem to be a problem. When you're 27 and you're talented and you want to strike out range and set up flying knees and set up dynamic strikes, it's very frustrating when a guy's constantly marching you down. It becomes a gut check. And then you go back to how many times have you fought this level of style? You haven't. How many guys do you train with that train and fight like Hyder Amil? Very few. The guy kind of brings something to the table that's difficult to replicate. Now, I tried to take William Gomez that last time out against Hyder Amil. Paul tried to talk some sense into me, but sometimes I just don't listen. And I thought really Gomez is a lot faster with his footwork. He's going to be able to touch him and move, touch him and move, touch him and move, dodge from side to side. It's a really close fight. Honestly, it could have been scored either way, but Hyder had no trouble tracking him down. Hyder went 1 for 6 in takedowns, but he was constantly trying to get the fight to the ground. He was constantly trying to cut him off. Another classic Hyder Hamil performance where he throws out sickening amount of volume. The guy's always in great shape, trains with Gilbert and Melendez, so his wrestling should be pretty, not saying it's a definitive, it's a definitive skill of his, but against Delgado, if you can mix in that grind with that grit, move him forward, slug combinations, keep the volume high, but press him up against the cage, work him from that standing cage position. If you can do all that and just really make it grimy, this fight's going to be close and competitive. So I want to take Delgado. But I just feel like there's a dogness to Hyder Hamil that's hard to replicate for training purposes, and then it's hard to figure out on a betting standpoint of like, well, how much pressure is he going to bring, and how will Delgado respond to that pressure? So, is this a dog that you're interested in, or do you think Delgado's too dynamics, keeps his fight at range, big cage, too much space to work with, and just walks him into shots? Like, well, what are your personal thoughts here?
It was the only click I made.
Was Hyder?
Was Hyder.
Yeah, I think
I got plus 140. I got plus 140. It actually went up to like plus 160 yesterday, and I was just like, am I gonna have to just like to win 2 units? And like I'm sure we bet so much like regional stuff. It's like he'll, as a plus money underdog, like he'll mix his way into some things and stuff over the course of the week with ACA and there's some PFL. There's PFL, obviously.
PFL card looks
there's
rough.
2 Cage Warriors cards, so it's just like, yeah, that's my thing right now. I'm like, don't go crazy on this single straight shot because like there's so many other plays over the course of the week. I'm like, I can mix it in some other ways. So yeah, I took it to win 2 units. It went up to like plus 155 at one point yesterday, and I was just like, what am I missing here? So like what I really saw with the gold, and before anything is like, I love both of these guys, but like I like I don't know, something about Amil just is absolute lunatic style, just the amount of volume and like the amount of F's that he doesn't seem to give when he's in there. It's like he's a real old school fighter, and I suppose for being a prospect he is kind of old, but it's just like this guy is just there to make you succumb to his pressure. Like he is in your face. He trusts his chin. I've seen him hit hard a couple of times. My only biggest concern and like where I think he could be exploited, like that Hermansson fight from Contender Series, taking down 5 times. He was able to get back up a whole bunch. He ends up winning, but it's like he's kind of tentative in that spot because of the takedowns. But yeah, like Delgado going through his fights, obviously I watched the Makate fight. I don't really think wrestling, if anybody has the wrestling advantage, as crazy as this may sound, it may be Delgado. And that would be like my concern here.
The Admiral Somnez fight, Somnez took him down 5 times on 23 takedowns, right? So, I mean, I remember watching that fight in, like, not live, but live on TV, and it was just like, oh my God, this Hyder Hamil guy's cardio is so goddamn good. Like, he just keeps stuffing takedown, stuffing takedown, stuffing takedown, getting taken down, getting back up, stuffing takedown, and then it looks like it's low volume, 26 to 22, but the 26 shots he landed could be heard throughout the apex. Whereas Somnez is just his short little shots trying to get him back down. So I don't know. I know you're a Hyder Hamil guy. He's got that Nate Landwehr type of dog. He's got that Vince Michelle type of toughness. And guys like that, when you can get them at plus money, are gonna give you a pretty good run for your dollar. So like I can see it. Wrestling probably is the question mark for both guys, but it's gonna be competitive. So why not just dog or pass this thing and take it to Hyder Hamil?
Well, on top of like the fight with Ernie Juarez, who you got right, I got wrong on that card on the weekend.
The A1 card.
A1 card. I was dead wrong on that one, but that's besides the point. Rewatching that fight, it's just like I saw a little bit of like offensive grappling from Delgado. But I'm like, maybe that works a bit. But the biggest red flag for Delgado is he fought this guy Romo on one of those UFL cards, which is like Rampage versus Henry Cejudo. So it's like Arizona versus like California. He fought this Romo guy, and that Romo guy knocked him down in the first like 30 seconds. And like this Romo guy does not have good records, not really beating anybody. saw him like eat some pretty big shots against Connor Matthews before he had a brilliant finish. And like we were on Delgado, like I was on Delgado in that spot. I don't want to speak for you in case you weren't, but like I was
Wow,
on
who
him.
took Connor Matthews?
I
It
don't
was
think
like a
anybody.
6 to
I
1
just
dog.
can't recall what you bet on a certain fighter. But what I'm saying is that like I was all about it, and like he won easy. Don't get me wrong, but like going back rewatching that on Delgado, that was I was like, hey, he's eating some shots there. That my boy Hurricane Hyder. If you give me Hurricane Hyder a dog money, Cody, I'm probably taking it.
Well, both
There'd be very few people at this level. Of course, if he had like, oh, well, if you put him in a title fight, it's like, well, they're not putting him in a title fight. If you give him anybody in the top 30 right now, and you're going to give me this pressure, pace, tenacity, and gumption to win, he's 35 years old. It's like he is coming to take your damn head off because he doesn't have time. Like he either has to become a fan favorite, get a whole bunch of opportunities that way, or he's going to knock your head off. He's the kind of guy I want to back when you put a plus next to his name. Hurricane Hyder was my first click and only click that I actually made in advance of this show. So that's where I'm at, bro.
Yeah, fair enough.
We got Tracy Cortez taking on Viviane Araujo. Minus 260 for Cortez. The comeback on Araujo. Plus 260. Or sorry, plus 220 we got here.
I'll just be completely honest with you. I don't know. I have no clue. I have no clue, and I say that because last week's PFL, man, we kicked some serious ass. But I got 2 fights wrong on the whole card. And it was Sarah Roscoe, chick fight, and I tried to fade Liz Carmouche, which, goddamn, that girl ages well. Anyways, only 2 fights I got wrong on the whole card, chick fights. Last week's UFC card, right? Only 2 women's fights on the whole card, and I proceeded to get both of them wrong, right? Not even close. What was I thinking? Arena Alexieva? Alyssa Mullins? God damn it. If you're in the Discord, you know we were cooking up some good times on that LFA card. Hit the top 2 lines, but all we needed was in the main event, Sierra Dinwoody, and we hit a 15-1. And I can't get a women's MMA fight right to save my goddamn life, Paul Shaughnessy. You could do the tape study. You could look at it. You could go see a dot model. But in that case, both favorites on the PFL won. The favorite on the LFA won. Okay, well then take the favorites. Both of the UFC ones were both underdogs. Like there's no rhyme or reason. Go ahead.
I hit like a 14-1, like 6 leg. Hit everything on the Fury that I had told people that I was playing and that I did play.
Did you have that Valerie Soto? She win?
So I did actually take that, but there was another women's fight, and I just passed.
That's the way to do it, dude. That's the way to do it.
I didn't know. I was like, oh, this other girl hits hard, but it's like she's kind of inexperienced, hasn't fought as many. It's like I'm just gonna pass on this one. And then the underdog ended up winning in that fight. But yeah, I just straight up passed. You don't have to play everything. We're breaking down like 70 fights over the course of the week. When I looked at this, like statistically, everything like that. Full disclosure, I was just like, how much do I really want to tape this fight? And the answer was not very much. So kind of like look through their stats and stuff. It's like Tracy's historically, the offensive wrestling pretty good, and she puts up a little bit more value. I understand why she's the minus 260 favorite here. She would be my pick, but like we're betting like 6 cards this week. I don't feel the need to force action on Tracy Cortez versus Viviane Araujo. And what I did find interesting is the over 6.5, or sorry, the over 2.5 in this fight. I don't know if I've seen a minus 600, bro.
Well, when you look at it, Tracy
that's
Cortez,
about as steamed as I've seen. I know
Tracy
she goes
Cortez
to decision.
is every single one, and you can say, well, she's fighting Jasmine Jasudavicius. She also fought Maria Agapova. They all go to decision.
Yeah.
And then flip side to that with Viviane. With Viviane Arroyo, she's had I want to say it's 10 fights in the UFC. The last 9 of them have gone to decision. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
So
sorry, the 12 fights in the UFC. The last 11 of them went to decision. She's fighting someone who all of them have gone to decision.
Should probably be minus 1,000.
Yeah, and it's a 2.5. It's a 2.5. If something was gonna happen, you would think it would happen late. But anyways, yeah, maybe it's a parlay piece. Maybe you can add it to a few things here or there. I do think the fight's
I
gonna go
don't know,
decision.
but
To
I
to
do
not
too.
to just to
Of
not to
course.
mail it in for you, what I would say is that Tracy Cortez does come from that wrestling base. She's got 4 brothers. Most of them are state champions in Arizona. That is her base. Although when she gets to this elite level of wrestling's really not that good. Against Gatto, who's very good, she did lose the wrestling match. Against Jasmine Jasavicius, very quality victory. She did get taken down twice. And against Rose Namajunas, no shame in that. She got taken down 5 times. Seeing Rose struggle the way she did against Miranda Maverick to secure takedowns at will, uh, it leads me to believe that like Cortez's wrestling's not that great. Her striking, although against Jasmine, she threw a high volume game plan. For the most part, it's not overly great. She's got the fake eyelashes. She's marketable. She was dating Brian Ortega. I don't think that one ended so well. I don't. She's had some injuries. I just don't really know how like really committed she is. And for Vivi, she's getting a lot older now.
And she's
Um,
pretty, yeah, she's long in the tooth at this
she's 40
point.
years old at this point. So
Almost.
yeah, 39. So like yeah, I mean the time is getting there. But and I talk about this all the time, whether it be a Liz Carmouche or whether it be a Marion Renault or whether it be a Juliana Pena or a Kayla Harrison or like the top of the division, Raquel Pennington. They're all older. Women's MMA, I think you can get away with being a lighter weight class, older fighter because there's just not that many speed scrambles going. I don't mean to be disrespectful. It's just you can get away with being a little bit older. So I don't think she's done by any stretch. What I'm concerned about is that the 2 takedowns she gave up against Jennifer Maia, when you watch that one, it's like, how are you getting taken down by Maia? Cortez should take you down. But their last fight against Karina Silva, she's out grappling Karina Silva, who's one of the better grapplers of the division. There's no rhyme or reason. She's a 2-round fighter. She's lost the 3rd round against Alexis Davis, lost the 3rd round against Jessica I, lost the 3rd round against Montana De La Rosa. She's had cardio issues, but still, that first 2 rounds, man, she's a problem. And because this fight is almost guaranteed to go to the judges' scorecards, you now have to rely on the judges to get it right. And if it's close and competitive, I don't want a minus 225 Tracy Cortez. So honestly, the smartest thing I could tell you is pass. But if I was in a POW camp and they had a gun to my head and they were like, you say now, I'd be like, I Tracy Cortez. Oh no, why did I do that? And just hope that the bolt's not in the chamber as they spin it. Well, what can I do about it, right? It's Russian roulette at this point. You're just hoping for the best. So pass, the smart guy pass. Me getting crushed on women's MMA should just pass. But I suppose the pick would probably be Tracy. I just hope her wrestling and her volume is good enough to get the job done. A little bit younger, all that stuff helps, but she's by no stretch in the imagination a lock or anybody that you should be confident in.
No. I mean, Chick Chalk is, I avoid it like the plague. It is what it is. But, yeah, next one we should be a little bit more enthused about. We got Terrance T-Rex McKinney taking on Slava Claus, Viecheslav, Borshchev, minus 161 is the current price. Market's been moving a lot around on this fight. Terrance McKinney fights tend to get a little bit crazy. I remember like when these unders were like when he made his debut, like I loaded them into everything because like they lined it at like a 2.5 and it was like minus 150 to the under 2.5. It was like plus 160, like under 1.5. I'm like, does anybody watch this guy's fights?
Yeah.
Like he literally comes shooting out of a cannon and tries to kill you as fast as possible, and then he gasses if he doesn't. Like nothing's really changed with him. Be interesting to see. I've been telling people who kind of reach out to me, I'm like, you either probably bet McKinney pre-flop or Borshchev becomes the live bet of the century. He's a guy who gets taken down, but it's like kind of hard to get out of there. Like his chin isn't great, but like Terrance can kind of go out there and absolutely flatline anybody. Like I will not be surprised if Terrance goes out there, gets a finish in the first 2 minutes. I'd be very surprised if like we get to late in the second round and Terrance is still putting on an absolute show. For the purposes of the show, I'll go dog or pass. I will go with Vyacheslav Borshchev, but like if you're gonna bet Borshchev, like don't. I suppose it is possible he could knock him out. You know, first exchange, good striker, bad wrestler, gets taken down pretty consistently every single fight. I suppose that is 100% in play, but like I would take my chances that like McKinney comes out hot, as McKinney usually does, and Borshchev's just kind of able to survive the first 3-4 minute onslaught and take over. You're gonna get a lot better price on somebody like Borshchev if this fight plays out the way I kind of think it will. Your thoughts on this fight?
The exact same thing. I'm taking Borshchev, but Borshchev live after he presumably gets thumped in the first round would be the best place to take him. Terrance McKinney's got 6 wins in the UFC. All 6 of his wins are in the first round. Overall, in his whole career, he has 16 pro MMA wins. 15 of them are in the first round. He's got only once in his career he knocked out a guy in the third, and that was in 2017, I believe. It's like 7 years ago. I don't think that if he gets out of the first round, and keep in mind the Bomb Fiend fight, he was very vocal about this afterwards. He was like, man, they told me to fight smart, and we decided to fight smart, come up with a game plan. Obviously, that don't work.
The Sadikov fight happened too.
The Sadikov fight, yeah, it's like, I'm going to fight smart, and I'm going to take my time and set stuff up. It doesn't work for him. The second it gets out of the first round, he's done. So he just bum rushes people and he puts them away. Now, if you're thinking, well, geez, 6 first round finishes is pretty impressive. And yeah, you can't take that away from him. It is pretty impressive. Knocking out Matt Frivola, I rate that. 7 seconds especially. Choking out Faraz Zayam, I rate that too. But since then, there's been nothing. Eric Gonzalez, Mike Breeden, Brendan Marat, Damir Hadzovic. Outside of Hadzovic, even hardcores don't remember Brendan Marat and Mike Breeden. Eric Gonzalez, hardcores do remember those guys, but a lot of them don't. What I'm saying is that, yeah, he can smash guys that never fought in the UFC again or should have never fought in the UFC to begin with. He can smash those guys early, but what if he faces a little bit of resistance? And all of his losses are when he's faced that resistance. In Borshchev, you've got, I wouldn't say a superior striker in the conventional sense of his technique is better. Yes, his technique's better, but McKinney's got a lot more speed and a lot more power. So striking ain't a path of victory. You could very well get knocked out right away. It's his striking's good enough to hopefully avoid some shots, mind your P's and Q's, try to drag this guy out a little bit. His takedown defense is super problematic, and Terrance McKinney wrestled at a high level in high school. Solid wrestler all around, very athletic, very explosive. He wants Borshchev down, he's going to take Borshchev down. There becomes the problem. All of the guys that have beaten Borshchev with the game plan of I'm going to take him down have had to do it all over and over again. Say Nazim Sadikov, 4, Mike Davis, 9, Mark Diakese, 11, right? So I really don't see Terrance McKinney taking him down 10 times without gassing, right? The other thing is that, well, who finishes him early? It's like, okay, Nazim Sadikov dropped him in round 2, 10-8 round 2. He still couldn't put him away. Obviously, that guy cracks pretty decent. Chase Hooper, the Chase Hooper fight, he knocks him down, he gets on top of him right away, and he puts an absolute beat down on Borshchev. And Borshchev doesn't go away. He scrambles pretty good, but Chase Hooper's elite as a grappler, way better than Terrance McKinney in pure jiu-jitsu. And so he floats on top of him, position to position, 8 minutes, and eventually he can't punch him out, so he just takes his neck and chokes him out. If McKinney does that exact same thing that Hooper did, drop him, get on top of him, swarm him, he's going to gas. And not only will he gas, is that he won't float from position to position and just, never get himself in danger. It'll be scramble. All of a sudden, McKinney will be back on the feet. And then Borshchev's going to throw caution in the wind because he's got nothing to lose, and you got to take him down again. And then he might get up. You got to take him down again. Davis took him down 9 times. DKC took him down 11 times. McKinney needs to get it done in the first round. So, yeah, listen, we're either going to look like absolute fools and Borshchev is going to get slept in 2.5 minutes, or Slava Claus is bringing some early Christmas presents, baby, and he's going to take a beating in the first round. You may get a really good live betting price. I think he'll take over after that. Last thing I'll leave you with is because
Borshchev round 2 plus 550. It was 750, so other people are probably seeing.
That's not bad.
Are probably thinking that's not horrible. It's early in the week for those types of props and stuff, but like that type of play, like pre-flop, I think would be pretty good. But yeah, I think this is just the strategy with McKinney fights. Like, I mean, the under 1.5 is like pretty juiced, man. Minus 245. I was like looking at it when I was like, what are people? And it was obviously just like a price manipulation that happened there because it went to minus 171, and I was just like, who's doing that? And then sure enough, it got absolutely plowed. It'll probably hang out at like minus 250 across the market. So that was obviously like a high level play type of thing for people to kind of load up and parlay up. that under 1.5, but like minus 250 to that under 1.5. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they get to like 7-8 minutes or 8 minutes into the fight, 9 minutes into the fight. It's not completely out of the realm. I don't expect it. It's probably a first round finish, but yeah, we're on the same page here. We have similar thoughts. We got Cedric Dumas taking on Jackson McVeigh. Minus 170 is the promotional newcomer who we broke down on a was it an LFA card? Yeah,
It's actually off. So
is it off now?
yeah, Dumas he pulled out. This Christopher Ewart, he was going to be on the Contender Series in a few weeks against Yuri Panfarov. He's in. We don't got a line, so we just can't really do much about it.
I didn't know the fight was off.
Yeah, I could tell you what I know about McVeigh, but basically it's like, how does he match up with Ewart? And I'm pretty sure this literally got done as we start recording this show. We had some tech difficulties, so we're a little bit later recording, so like it got done at some point, but it's yeah.
I mean, I'm switching the show, so I don't have time to be scanning Twitter or anything like that.
I actually didn't check Twitter. I just noticed that they did an official change. And Dumas, who I never understood why he was on the card in the first place, can't keep himself out of trouble.
Getting in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know why he pulled out. It just says he pulled out, but it could be injury. It could be he's hiding in a dog kennel because he abused a woman somewhere. I don't know why he's still on the roster. 3-3 is not the worst record going. Don't get me wrong, but he's not entertaining style-wise, and seems like a piece of shit. So I really don't know. McVeigh, I don't mind McVeigh. Like you say, he's crushing guys on LFA, but pretty well every single guy he's fought.
No, it's nobody.
Barely had a pulse. It's like, how good is he? No wrestling background from high school, none in college, no notable BJJ background. Trains at St. Charles MMA, so you know he can wrestle. You know he's scrappy and durable, but he's mostly just a big guy. You know, he's 6'4" with a 77-inch reach, and there's just not a whole lot of guys like that in those higher weight classes, so he could get exposed very easily. Short notice here. There's things to not like. Ewart, meanwhile, he's Chilean. He knew he had a fight coming up. His cardio is good. I only remember his fight off the top of my head against Reese Baby Goose Watkins, which is probably his last fight.
I watched that this past weekend, him versus Watkins, when I was breaking.
And I like Baby Goose. But yeah, I thought he looked pretty okay in that fight. So I got to really, obviously, it just got announced. I really got to buckle down and just look at it and then give you a solid answer. But at the time of this recording, I don't even have a line, so I can't tell you.
Yeah. I don't have enough of an opinion, and there is no line, so we're not doing the book's job for them. Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I imagine like Jackson McVeigh's kind of enormous, right? Like he's
a big guy. Yeah.
He's 6'4", 77-inch reach. Likes holding guys against the cage. That's kind of like where he does his best work. I'm gonna have to look at Chris Ewart a little bit more closely before I have like a full blown opinion. But I would expect probably Jackson McVeigh to be the favorite in this spot. But I guess we will see. Jhonata Diniz taking on Alvin Hines. Diniz minus 350 favorite, comeback on Hines is plus 285. That number is really steamed at this point. I added Jhonata Diniz to like kind of a degen parlay like a few days ago, or like basically over the course of the weekend.
At what number? Like, would you get him at?
In this range of like minus 220-ish, something like that. As the number kind of grows now, I'm like, I don't necessarily love Jhonata Diniz at this point, but like I did tape this Alvin Hines guy for an LFA card, and I'm not all that impressed with him. Like I tried to fade him as like a 6 to against some like fat dude who was like 6-1. Ended up losing, looking kind of, I suppose, as a dumb bet. But I've seen this guy Alvin Hines like rocked against like way lesser opponents. Not very impressed, but like as it's heavyweight, as Jhonata Diniz's price grows, and the fact that like that he's not some sort of proficient wrestler by any stretch of the imagination, like I don't know if there's anything left on the bone at this point. But like I'm not impressed by Hines' 6-0 record, to be perfectly honest. Like I think a lot of these like USA heavyweight, a lot of like regional heavyweights where they just don't fight anybody good until they get to one of the bigger promotions. Like the Hines has been kind of fighting in Minnesota on the Minnesota cards, hometown heroes. They bring some guy in who can't really wrestle, is not the hardest hitter. And like he's been getting through those guys, but like welcome to the UFC. Now you've got Diniz, who you can make fun of him for all you want, but he's been in there with some absolute straight up killers. Topuria was able to completely exploit him last time out there, but taken down only twice by Carl Williams, ends up getting the unanimous decisions. Like, I don't think it's a guarantee, or obviously not a guarantee. It's an underdog in Alvin Hines, but I don't think that I think Alvin Hines is about to find out that there's a massive step up to the UFC from whatever he's been fighting on that level. But at minus 350, it's just like it's entry level UFC heavyweights. Like it can probably only go wrong by getting too attached to something like Jhonata Diniz at this price. They opened it at minus 850, which I think is actually really insane. But that number was probably only there for like 10 minutes. Anyway, pick is Diniz for me. I just don't know how attached I'm going to get to it this week. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it opens at 850 because again, it's like not only is Hines not good, and only is he's making his UFC debut at 33 years old and is not good. He's coming in on short notice. It's like it was initially supposed to be Jonathan Diniz against Justin Tafa, and so Tafa pulls out. It's International Fight Week. They're going to bring someone in short notice. They're looking to save the vast majority of the fights on this card one way or another by bringing in whoever. And this card
and you have
really
a lot
does
of fighters in town, right? You have a lot of fighters in town just randomly for being there for the fight card, or just like they've got friends that are fighting on this card. So it's like it's probably pretty easy to find like replacements this week.
Well, it is. And when you look at Alvin Hines coming in the 11th hour to save the fight, right? Jackson McVeigh, this is no offense to him, but are you the LFA champ? Did you fight on the Contender Series? No, you're 6-0, and 5 of those guys were certified cans. Like, I don't think he should be on the card. Christopher Ewert, no disrespect to him, but he's supposed to fight Panfarov on the Contender Series, and if he wins and he looks good and he impresses Dana, he could get a contract, and now he has a contract. So the card's a little bit wonky in that regard. But for Alvin Hines, again, Alvin Hines, his pro career starts 2 years ago at the age of 31. Okay, he is a operating engineer, a unionized guy in Minnesota. The union for the engineering union of Minnesota loves him. They sponsor him for all of his fights, and he mostly fights in Minnesota, where he sells a ton of tickets. He's been fighting professionally for 2 years. That's tough go, man. So yeah, you're 33. The UFC comes calling. You're going to pick up the phone and go for it. Again, he's not another guy that had to win the LFA title or fight a Jared Vandera. I used to fight in the UFC, but now I'm scrubbing it up on the regionals. Fight a guy like that. No, dude, he beat Billy Ray Valdez.
Yeah,
Ray Valdez. And he took him to the 3rd round.
I bet Valdez plus 600. And lost, but
I remember that because I had Hines, and it was like, well, middling heavyweights. But the fact that that's what we believed Hines was a middling heavyweight. Normally you would say, well, dude, he turned pro at 31. Daniel Cormier turned pro at 30. It's like, Daniel Cormier was an elite level wrestler on the national team. This guy has no wrestling background, no jiu-jitsu background, no striking background. He does have an amateur fight in 2011.
Courier, we've broken that guy down. Like that guy literally, he has boobs.
He's a big guy, but not for the right reasons.
He's horrible. He's horrible. He fights on that like Northern Iowa fight league that we always make fun of over on the Patreon side.
Yeah, he's 6'5",
awful. Like if you put these guys into the Jhonata Diniz would one punch that guy. Literally, I know it's a minute and 48 seconds. Jhonata Diniz would land one punch, and Mark Courier would fold. That's how this was.
And to me, that's the basis of it, is that Hines is 1 year younger than Diniz. Hines spent 10 years getting an engineering degree, getting an excellent job. By his own accord, he's like, well, I had to get financially safe and take care of my family. And so then on weekends, he enjoys drinking a Bud Light and beating some guy's ass. And that's all well and good. The guy's by far the toughest guy at the barbecue. But in that entire time that he's doing that, Diniz is an elite level kickboxer. He went the distance with Daniel Guida in extra round. Went the distance with Rico Verhoeven. He's got quality victories. He's fought a lot of the high end guys, and then transfers over to MMA. In MMA, he's already got wins over Julian Lane and Carl Williams Even that Eduardo Neves, I kind of rate all of those guys above Alvin Hines. He's at a full training camp coming into this one. And when the line maker says, let me look at it. Oh, dude, it's a Diniz route. 850. But of course, it's a soft limit opener. And they are middling heavyweights at the end of the day. So why not have Hines? What I like about Hines is that for a big man, he's got good cardio and he's agile. But his striking looks good against far less guys. Against Diniz, I don't think it's going to happen. His wrestling, it's not all that good. It's the key to beating Diniz is to take him down. But I think Hines is probably way a step below Marcin Tybura, way a step below behind Carl Williams. The Williams one, my theory is that they told him backstage don't wrestle because it's a really weird performance. But even in a weird performance, I think he got 2 of 5 takedowns. So, I mean, Diniz stuffed 3 Carl Williams takedowns, which actually means something. If you're a shitty heavyweight, Carl Williams takes you down. So, I think Diniz keeps his fight standing and then just really starts to put his combinations together. Hines in the second round, Hines in the third round. Although known for his cardio, short notice, huge moment, huge live crowd. Doesn't need the money, makes far better money in his everyday job. I just don't see it being a great debut for him. At 850, no chance. At 650, no. At 550, I mean, they're heavyweights. At 450, it's like Alvin Hines really not that good. 350, you said you got it at 220. It's like, you're talking my language. Yeah. I think Diniz wins at that price tag. So I do have Diniz to win the fight. Correct.
I was hoping that it would kind of hang around a little bit longer is kind of what sucked for me, to be perfectly honest. But people figured it out a little bit too fast. The only he does have like a submission win over like Philip Latu, but like Philip Latu's like a light heavyweight, isn't he?
Well, it was Latu's pro debut, or it's definitely, I think it's both, maybe both their pro debuts. And yeah, Latu, I actually really don't mind him, but he's a kickboxer and it's his debut and it's a few years ago. But just like we talked about with
I was gonna say is that like it's probably like I can see this fight playing out a lot. It's very, very possible that like it kind of plays out like the Austin Lane fight. Like it's not Marcin Tybura is able to like absolutely beat the crap out of Diniz on the mat. But like, what do you think Diniz does after that fight? He goes back to camp. He works very, very hard on that aspect of the game. It's probably what he does every single time. But then, the Austin Lane fight, which was obviously 3 fights ago for Diniz, gets taken down right at the beginning of round 1. It isn't looking good, but he survives. You know, we look at
Austin Lane. He's not good.
Well, we look at Hines. Like I don't think he has some sort of like elite submission skills. So it's like Diniz has to do exactly what he did in most of these fights, and it's just like just hold on, get to round 2 if you get taken down immediately. Like I and then I could see like Diniz coming out and getting the finish, but like I think Diniz is leaps and bounds better than this guy. And he's kind of proven some stuff to us, even though he's kind of been learning on the job. Anyway, did you have one final thing to say about that fight?
No.
Yes, no, maybe. Okay. Finally, we've got Jacoby Smith taking on Nico Price. Jacoby Smith is the biggest favorite on the card at minus 2,500. You know already. He's like, I don't bet these types of money lines. Jacoby Smith, 10-0. Oklahoma State University collegiate wrestler, has absolute dynamite in his fists. Nico Price is old, looking rough, everything like that. I don't know what to do with this fight, Cody. Do I think Jacoby Smith's going to win? Yes. Do I really have very much like appetite to bet Nico Price this week? No, not really. He hasn't like shown me all that much in quite some time. But yeah, I mean, the numbers basically like it's either dog or pass. I'm going to decide to pass. Pick is Smith. Your thoughts? Like I'm looking like I haven't really looked at the props for this fight. I'm sure there'll be a prop that becomes interesting to me. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think it's like the sad end of Nico Price. Sadly, it's like he's got 18 fights in the UFC. He's got an 8-8 record. At his best, he's fought in quality guys like Robbie Lawler in his career. He fought Vincente Luque in his career. He fought Michel Pereira in his career. He's fought a lot of good guys. And as a result, not winning all of them, but 8-8 record. But with the 2 no contests, 18 fights, you start to make some money. And Nico Price doesn't got the skills to hang no more. He doesn't have the durability to hang no more. He used to be known for just relentless pace, very solid cardio, decent skills everywhere, I suppose, and his ability to take a punch. But now at 35, it's not old, but similar to what we saw with Kevin Lee in the PFL last weekend, Kevin Lee's only 32 years old. And it was very refreshing to hear him say it afterwards in his little, post-fight comment, his like statement, I guess, from the hospital, where he was just like, listen, I can't take the same punches that I used to. I used to be able to take those punches. I can't take them anymore. And I don't think it's ever going to come back. And it was like, that's a harsh reality. It's the harsh reality of the fight game that there's certain guys out there that have got 100 fights and are perfectly fine. There's certain guys that got 10 fights and the doctor says, if you take any more concussions, you're done. Like the human body just responds in different ways. So for Nico, when I watch him, it's just like diminished performance after diminished performance, and it's getting hard to see, right? Even before his last two MMA fights, you can see there's a grappling match versus Pat Sabatini in 2023, December 2023. So not even 2 years ago. Pat Sabatini takes him down, takes his back, puts him in a solo stretch, all in about a minute. Pat Sabatini fights in the UFC at 145 pounds. Nico Price is a welterweight. His grappling is diminished. His punch resistance is diminished. Everything about his game is way off. And then that last fight with Thembo Grimbo, it's like, okay, well, he's very green and like not the most experienced guy going. So maybe you could give him some of that, like a veteran lesson.
Getting taken down 7 times.
Yeah, just like
Themba
at will.
What are
He's
you
not
gonna
presenting.
do when
He's
Jacoby
not
Smith is
presenting.
coming for you? You're not
And
gonna have a
yeah,
good time.
no, and not only that, it's like when I watch the Robbie Lawler fights, like he gets knocked down in 38 seconds. It's like, oh damn, like that was a pretty tough go. Before that, it's like Vincente Luque put him right through an absolute war and then caught him right at the end of it. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, sorry, he knocks him out in 43 seconds. So like, not only do I think Jacoby Smith, who hits incredibly hard, can just outright nuke him, but his plan B, which would be wrestle, is actually by far his best path to victory. Taking Nico Price down is going to be no problem. And then what? He's a flexible guy. He does yoga. He should be able to snatch up a choke. If you know Nico Price, then you'll know he has 7 kids. So like, he's fighting for a very specific reason, and it's to take care of his family. He's not the same guy he used to be, but this is how he earns. This is how he takes care of himself. He's a real man, and the UFC is giving him absolute no favors. And so in pro wrestling, much the same as in MMA, it's always better to go out on your back. They're not looking to promote a guy that's got a big win because then he wants another fight. He wants another paycheck, and you have to re-extend his contract. And if you don't, the fans say, why would they cut off Nico Price coming off this big win? So they don't give you a nice fight. Why didn't Nick Diaz fight Tony Ferguson? No, instead Tony Ferguson's fighting the best guys in the division, and Nick Diaz is also they have what was he booked against Vincente Luque? Like, why would that be a comeback? They don't care. If you're making money, you got to earn it. UFC is a business model. So I feel like Nico Price is being set that Jacoby Smith looks like a legitimate prospect. When we talk about legitimate prospects, you say, oh, Payton Talbott, this guy looks good. But can he wrestle, Paul? Well, that I don't really know. You look at other guys, it's the same thing. It's like, oh man, this guy looks unbelievable. He goes out there, he lands this shot, and you just don't know. With wrestling, you do know. And I think that's the most important thing. He's got the best base, he's got natural power. He likely builds up into a solid contender. The fact that in his UFC debut, they give him Preston Parsons, he smokes him. Now that he gets Nico Price in his second fight, name guy, over the hill, people know who he is, ends up on the highlight reel, it's a no-brainer. So minus 2,000, what can you possibly do with it? But I would say the
Minus
inside
2,500.
Yeah, and it just keeps growing. And when it opened, it was like minus 1,800. I'm like, well, I get it, but banana peel price, anything can happen. And the kid's still young and he's green in his own way. But I struggle to find how Nico wins. If this is Nico 3-4 years ago, it's like, yeah, he's a big guy for the division and he brings constant pressure and he's got real good gas take. And if you take him down 10 times, maybe you gas out. But now it's like he's gassing out. He's not stuffing takedowns. He's had bad knee injuries. It's just like that's the sad thing about fighting is sometimes guys they just kind of lose it. And I feel like that's where we're at with Nico. So if you're looking to spice it up, it'd be Smith inside the distance, Smith specifically, sorry, by knockout.
Minus 300.
Yeah, but it's minus 300 for a knockout prop. That's just really not my style. You're beating on him, you're beating on him, you're beating on him, you grab his neck, I lose. Like, no, I'm not feeling that. We'll
Yeah,
take
they made the
inside the
price. They
distance. It's
made it
even
on
worse
price. They
price.
made it unplayable. That's fine.
It's unplayable. You just like the women's MMA fight on this card. You also have to pass. It is what it is. There's lots of great spots on the rest of the weekend. There's lots of great spots on this card. You don't have to force every single one of them.
No,
I think personally, Jacoby Smith rolls. I'm the kind of guy that's going to
course.
parlay Jacoby Smith, but I totally understand why not everybody would do that. I understand
Exactly.
why it's not logical to do that. I understand why Paul Shaughnessy does not do that. But I think Jacoby Smith rolls him up. So at some
Of
point on
course.
the parlay,
Priced at like 95%. Of course he's probably gonna roll
yeah,
him up. Like
yeah.
that's just gambling. Anyway, we're just about out of time. But before we go, Cody, hit him with the PRP.
I mean, it seems like it's all underdogs this week, right? But at the top, we're going to go with Ilia Topuria, Kai Car France, dog number 1, Brandon Royval, dog number 2, Beneil Dariush, dog number 3, Payton Talbott, dog number 4. I'll take Gregory Rodrigues, Hyder Amil, dog number 5, Tracy Cortez, Viecheslav Borshchev, dog number 6. I have no price on this Ewert McVeigh. I'm down with Ewert because he's Chilean, but McVeigh is really big, so I can't really tell you. I don't know. I don't know. Ewert maybe at first glance.
Is there a
And then
price?
I don't see a price yet. So it's hard. It's honestly that one's hard to say. People will say, well, let's just say it's an even money fight. Who do you take? It's like, well, I haven't looked at Ewert enough, and I'm really down with these Chilean guys and these Peruvian guys. I think he's out of full camp. He's durable. McVeigh's been smashing everybody. Well, good luck smashing this poor South American kid who's coming to feed his family, dog, because he's not going to go away. At that point, it's going to be a scrap. McVeigh's not ready for a scrap because he's never had to be in to this point. I got to, I don't know if that's what it was. I got to see a line though. Jonathan Diniz and then Jacoby Smith. So overall, I got 600 dogs on the card, and you could pass on Tracy Cortez. You could pass on Jacoby Smith. It doesn't change the fact that there's still 600 dogs on the card that I like. And between those, you're going to find some value. So of course, there's a PFL. There's 2 Cage Warriors cards this weekend. There's an ACA card, which Paul's been killing. So there's quite literally 75 fights on International Fight Week going down this weekend. Just pick and choose your spots. But as far as the
Yeah.
UFC goes, that's what I got for you this week.
And that's why I don't feel like I need to really play like Tracy Cortez versus Viviane Araujo. It's just like there's Saifullah Jabailov taking on Felipe Froze in the rematch that Saifullah probably asked for. Anyway, that ACA card is so bad, like it's so good. I've been taping.
You like it? I hope.
I
Yeah,
got
go
through
ahead.
like half of the taping of it already. There's 17 fights on it. Dude, there's so much talent. There's so much talent on that card because there's a lot of like EV Russians with like good grappling and stuff like that. Like it's a very, 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 very quality card for being outside of the UFC. There's plenty of fights that are like even on like the prelims of that are like better than some of these fights that are on the UFC main card.
The
So
UFC's tight. The PFL, which we're
not
going to
main
break
card,
down
but the
tomorrow,
prelims.
is extremely tight. I know we just smoked a PFL. I feel like we're going to give it back on this one because it just looks rough. BKFC, I swore I'd never bet never again. Yeah, Cage Warriors. There's 20 fights between 2 shows, and
You never know until you're on
yeah,
the tape.
you never
That's
know.
really
But
what it
that's why
comes down
sometimes
to.
less is more. Pare it down. These are the guys I definitely like.
Mhm.
These are the guys I definitely don't like, and yeah, go from there. But yeah, I mean, hopefully the PRP hits, and then if this one was to hit, of all the PRPs we've ever hit in our entire run here, Paul, this one would be the mega PRP
Which
because it's
one?
got 317. If you were to hit one on 317, because of the fact that there's 600 dogs, right? So,
Oh, brother,
what better time than right now to get every single fight right, Paul? I'm down. I'm stoked. I'm ready to do it. I just need every single fighter to fight to their best and the judges to also give me the nod, the bounces, the refereeing, the cuts. Everything goes in my favor. We've done it before. We'll do it again. But this one, yeah, just because of the big plus money here that you can get, I think would be an extremely lucrative payday.
Yeah. I mean, the ACA card, if I hit every single thing on that one, 17 fights, and they're like all pretty. It's not up on Bet Online, but I've got some books that have it available. They're all pretty, like, pretty closely lined, relatively closely lined. There's biggest favorite on the entire card is like minus 500, minus 600, maybe. Um, that's going to obviously change. But yeah, if that 17, that 17 leg parlay hits, it may be a problem because like the books will actually go broke. Um, Like that, like
It's a good problem to have.
That would be a good problem for us to have, not for the lovely books.
For 22bet, the Russian money washing site that gives you early action on ACAs. Oh no.
They don't need to.
You can censor that
Put a
part out
face.
if
They
you're
don't
worried
need to
about
put a
it.
face to the name. Nobody. I don't think anybody's watching from there, buddy. It's okay, but they're not paying us any money, so like we don't have to bring up, what the book is. But bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. They get these numbers up actually before even more common, offshores and stuff like that. At least for some stuff. They don't have Cage Warriors up yet, but they have the Russian stuff because they probably have a book over in Russia that they're taking that number from. Anyway, lovely people, the best people. Well, yeah, ACA should be a lot of fun. There's 2 Cage Warriors cards. I'm going to look into those as well. You're looking into the PFL. And then there's like a couple other things that, like, if we get to it, we get to it over the course of the week. Our boy DSBV in the cord. He's doing the one championship. There's just so much stuff going on every single week. Great little community we have there. If you ever have any sort of interest of getting more from us, getting a little bit deeper in the weeds of all of the regional scenes, we don't sell too much on you, but this is my pitch. Link is in the description. Hop in, get in while the getting's good, and this is a great week to hop on the train. Anyway, that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.